welcome to Nick Needs to Know. Get ready for some raw and honest discussions as I bring on guests from all walks of life to spill the beans on their career journeys, the hurdles they faced, and the invaluable lessons they learned along the way. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty and uncover the good, the bad, and the ugly of chasing our dreams and finding our way in this crazy world. Join me in a captivating conversation with Raudy Lockhart on this episode of Nick Needs to Know. We delve deep into his career journey, exploring the ins and outs of his sales background, the balancing act of family life, and the unexpected cold water lake swimming. Don't miss out on this enlightening episode, so stay tuned for some career insights, personal stories, and a splash of adventure. Morning, Raudy. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm really good.
So you're joining me remotely today. I'm in sunny Hull, and you're in sunny...
I'm in sunny Irvine, which is in the west coast of Scotland. So, yeah, that's a pretty decent day.
Yeah, it does look very sunny. I can see it in your
that's
background
okay.
There. How long you lived up there then?
So, do you know what? I've stayed in Irvine all my days. I'm 54, and I've stayed here for 54 years. I've never left the town that I was born in.
Wow, it's that's unheard of nowadays, really, isn't it?
I suppose
you don't really get people staying in one place as much as you used to do. Because I think back in days, mines and stuff like that, and big warehouses kept people in certain areas, didn't they, for their life, with jobs for life.
Yeah, totally. No, I've stayed here. I've stayed here all my days, and do you know what? I've never had any intentions of ever moving away. I've just always enjoyed, the town that I live in, and it's always been good to be around friends and family. And I never had any visions or any goals to kind of move away from where I live. And I think I've been fortunate with all the roles and jobs that I've had that I've been able to, I've never been required to move away. I suppose I've been quite fortunate in a lot of the jobs that I've done because I've probably done a lot of working away from home. So it's not as if I've been like really closed in and into this town that I live in, for this length of time for my life as such. But, I've been all over the UK and, I've seen a lot of the country. So yeah, I've never had the aspiration or the need to ever move away.
So you've not spent the last 30 odd years working in local corner shop then, have you?
No, definitely. Career-wise, I've worked in every corner of the UK, so I have, and looked after teams all over as well.
So, speaking of careers and that's obviously why you're on here today and you've joined me. Going back to your first ever job, Raudy, can you remember what that was and where it was?
Yeah, I do, yeah. It's probably quite an interesting path as well. So my first ever job was a YTS for anybody that was a youth training schemes. So I started in Comet, which was the electrical retailer, very well known. And I started at 16-year-old, and I started as a stores person. So, my YTS accreditation, etc., was to be a storeman. But I remember the manager, he sort of kind of, I think I used to get £25 a week. That was my wage, and it was like a 2-year course that was on. But the manager had sort of gave me the opportunity, said, "Do you want to come in and work weekends and earn a bit extra cash?" And it was more to go on the sales floor and to work in sales and just be available for customers and run and get stock, etc., etc. So, I'm pretty much, motivated for money and the opportunity, being in a YTS. And all my mates were in jobs and they were getting so much more money than me. And I was always sort of trying to find a way where I could, get the same kind of earning potential. But anyway, so yeah, I started working weekends and I was, on the sales floor. And I remember at the time, because I didn't wasn't officially a salesperson, so I had to put all my sales through and other people's sales numbers or their IDs, and then they would give me cash at the end of the week when they got their pay packet. So I used to have to record all the sales I made, all the commission that was aligned to it, and I would put it through in their sales ID. And this is back in the days when you got a pay packet. You didn't get money paid into your bank account and paid monthly. You got paid weekly. You got it in a pay packet. And so I used to record all my sales, and then we got paid on a Thursday night. It's really wild to go back and think about that. It's like the secretary in the store, she would go to the bank, she would pick up the payroll, she would come back to the store, make up everybody's pay packets and had your pay slip. And so anyway, the salespersons that I was putting my sales through, and they would have to go into their sales packet, divvy up my money, and that would go into my sales packet. But anyway, I probably found my way, actually. Whilst I really enjoyed being a store person and had this real aspiration to pass my forklift license, but I was too young. But I was obsessed with wanting to drive the forklift around the warehouse, etc., etc. But yeah, I found my way, and I thought, what, sales is the way forward, and this is where I can make a bit of extra cash. And
was it purely cash that was driving you, or was it something else about sales that got you like loving that part of it?
Do you know what? It's a really good question, because I was probably going down the line of cash, right? So the motivation was to better my lifestyle. I came from, single parent family, and my mother wasn't able to give me, financial backing or money or whatever. So I always was taught that I had to go out and earn that myself. So to sort of better myself and, and to have the better lifestyle, then I knew the value of money, and I knew the value of hard work and going out and earning it yourself. But actually, to answer your question, a bit deeper, I loved recognition. I loved my manager saying, "Raudy, well done. That was a phenomenal day you had," or "That was a phenomenal week." And probably at that particular time, because of the YTS, I was actually becoming the best salesperson in the store. And I was becoming the best salesperson in the area, and I was getting recognised regionally as like, who is this guy that's making all these sales? And so at a very, very early age, I got a real taste for, recognition. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best salesperson, and to be on a youth training scheme and to be beating, these like, really experienced salespeople. And yeah, it just became an absolute obsession, where I wanted to be top of the game, and I wanted to be recognised. And, I wanted my manager to say to me at the end of the day, "Rod, that was an amazing day, well done." And it's, that career, believe it or not, I lasted, 16 years in Comet.
16 years.
It became a career for 16 years where that really developed me. As a person, it developed me as a salesperson, and I reached a lot of milestones. I became the sort of top salesperson. I became the top salesperson nationally, and I was well awarded for that. In terms of, I don't know if you remember, getting into electrical retail shops and they would sell you 5-year extended guarantees. That was the big profit margin in those stores. And yeah, I became the sort of top salesperson nationally for selling 5-year extended warranties. But yeah, I reflect on that, and it was a great career, and I was really passionate about tech. I was really passionate about product, enhancing my product knowledge. I really loved engaging with customers. I loved building rapport, and actually built up a bit of a customer base, like a massive customer base where you would get people that just repeat visits. They'd come back and they'd walk into the store and they'd be walking right up to the reception of the store or the cash desk and saying, "Is Raudy Lockhart in? Can I speak to Raudy?" And I just built up this like customer base where I would get all this repeat business.
Yeah.
But in Comet, because I was the top salesperson, and this is going back to me staying in Irvine, because when I started there, I worked in the local store in Irvine. But my career was moving around all the big top flagship stores, more so in the Glasgow area, because where I live, I'm probably about 25 miles south of Glasgow. So when you look at all your big flagship stores that Comet had, I used to just sort of kind of move around them, and when there's new store openings, I would be the one that was put into these stores. So yeah, do you know what? I had an absolutely amazing career in Comet, and probably when you look at reasons why you left, Comet used to be, it was a really, really good, strong retail brand. And, business wise, it had a massive turnover, massive footfall. It was always a great opportunity. And from a sales perspective, you were very well rewarded with the commission structures they had. I mean, I think if I go back to probably looking at your basic pay, I think I got was about 190 quid a week, but the commission was just like phenomenal. So I was in my 20s, early 30s, and I was making, 35k a year, which was phenomenal money back in the day. So it was a very rewarding, if you were top of your game, it was a very rewarding job to be in. But Comet just changed, right? And it just didn't change with the times. And they kind of tried to turn the store into more like an Argos, right? They didn't want salespeople as such. They just changed it. It was almost, I'm going to say, order takers. So they didn't want you approaching customers. They wanted customers to come over to you. And with that, the whole commission structure just completely moved all the goalposts, where, that earning potential just wasn't there. And it was, you had to make your decision because you had a lifestyle and, aspirations, that you had to meet, and the way that business had restructured, that just wasn't possible. So that was 16 years upstream. That was the time to sort of kind of consider your next career moves, but still staying in sales.
So it was a financial aspect to you leaving them as well, or do you think it was more of the buzz of the interaction with the customers that pushed you out, or possibly maybe you'd reached too many milestones?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the way that business had evolved, I seen myself not as a salesperson any longer. I seen myself as an order taker. So, I wasn't getting that sort of satisfaction. I was probably not coming in with the same motivation because, you would go to work every day and think, right, I'm going to absolutely smash it today. This is what I want to achieve. This is the turnover I want to pull in. This is the money I want to make. You didn't have goals as such. And listen, it was too big a drop in terms of your life. Nobody could, take that drop in lifestyle. The business had just changed. It just evolved. And it's funny because that business is no longer here. It was the biggest electrical retailer in the UK. And the one thing that they probably failed on was their e-commerce. They just didn't get online, along with the other retailers. And hence that's why they're not here today. But yeah, it was time to move on for me. And again, being a salesperson and, having mates in the same industry, I was starting to see guys going out in doors, chapping doors, going into the utilities industry and, making really, really good money.
I think a lot of companies fell foul of the e-commerce side of things, didn't they, back in that time when it was just transitioning over internet and things?
Yeah. Massively.
Comet, just certainly disappeared off the high street, didn't it, because of that?
Yeah. Comet just had a dependency and had a belief that customers will always be attracted to come along to Comet to get the best offers, the best deals. They've got the biggest ranges, they've got the nicest stores, but they just didn't move with the times, where people wanted to start looking at things online and make different decisions and do a bit of research, do a bit of homework, do a bit of price comparison, and then they would make a decision and then they could buy online, whereas Comet didn't invest in that.
So whereabouts did that take you then after your move away from Comet?
Very strange. So I had I was probably a bit disillusioned with sales at that particular time. And, I can probably talk a bit more about how when I got back into sales, but some of my mates, they were working on the railway. And I got this job. I had to go and sit some training and get certification to be able to work in the railway. So I went and sat all my exams. So I worked on the Forth Road Bridge, which is the sort of Forth Rail Bridge, which is the big big massive rail bridge that you see up just past Edinburgh. And I don't know, the colour's red, isn't it? So years ago, they used to just like every single day, that bridge would be painted before they come up with some revolutionary paint that meant that they don't have to paint it every X amount of years. But back in the day, that was just getting painted every single day. So I got a job in the railway where I looked after track safety. So it was almost like, this is like a very untechnical name, but the job was a lookout. So essentially, you'd be on the line and you're looking out for trains coming. And when the trains came, you blew a big horn, and all the guys up abseiling, painting the bridge, they had to pull themselves in because the train was coming. And then you would let them know when it was clear to go back to work again. So actually, I worked in the railway for about 3 years. But a really interesting job, and it was like massively different for sales, being a lookout on a railway line. But it was probably quite nostalgic working on the Forth rail bridge.
Yeah, so 3 years blowing a horn.
Yeah. that was it, yeah.
After those 3 years, Roddy, where did that take you after those 3 years?
So I went into sales, and I went back to probably electrical market as such, but it was very much in the subprime market. Like it was working in canvas and door knocking teams, and that was for a company called Homebuy. So Homebuy were a company who worked in the subprime market, and I don't know if you ever remember, you used to get TVs, and there were slot TVs where you'd have to put a £1 coin in for the TV to work.
To watch it, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, the Homebuy, we retailed TVs, and this is just at the time plasma TVs and LCD TVs were coming out. So essentially, we would go around knocking customers' doors, and we'd be selling TVs on the doorstep as such. And then because it was like no credit checks, etc., it was available to anyone. And essentially, say for example, the TV was like £20 a week. The customer would have to put £1 coins in a meter on the back of the TV. And then every 2 weeks, a collector would come around and collect the money, take it out out the meter. And that's how they paid for their TV. They would pay the TV for like 3 years, and the interest rates were just like, ridiculous and crazy. But unfortunately, on the sort of kind of subprime market, that's the price that customers paid, unfortunately. So that probably advanced through. I started there as a salesperson on the doors, and again, really successful. Got to the top of my game, and then I moved into like a team leader role where I had a group of patch engineers, salespeople that I would work with. And then again, getting sort of recognised, and then I moved into an area manager's role at Homebuy.
Yeah, see, I remember those TVs back in the day. I think my mum and dad had used to have one, like really early 90s, I think it was. But me and my brother used to take a knife and put a knife in a slot, and you could like bend the one way, like valve back sort of thing, and get the quids back out. So we used to take the quids back out and then put them back in, sort of thing, so we could finish watching Coronation Street.
It's the amount of people that would break the meters off the back of the TVs, and that was that was a big issue. Debt was a massive issue in that part of the business, if I'm honest. But I hung around at Homebuy for quite some time, and again, it was really successful, and that company really evolved. It kind of turned into a bit of a bright house, but on the doors, so to speak. But it offered the same product portfolio. You could buy like a bed, you could buy a couch, you could buy a wash machine. We had big glossy fancy magazines that would sell from. But there'd be the same monthly payments where they'd pay, you could buy a couch, but the meter was still going to TV, and you would make your weekly or monthly payments through the meter to pay for the couch. So, Homebuy was it was a UK-wide company. It was really successful, and it had a really good business model. But, they probably, again, the way that company probably evolved in their strategy, to sort of they wanted to be a PLC company. So they went into administration at the end up, and that was just down to the debt management. It was just unsustainable.
Yeah. And whereabouts did that take you after that then? Because obviously you said you got up to like a regional manager level.
Do you know something? So yeah, I got made redundant when Homebuy went into administration, and I moved on to another company who were in the same market, called Buys Review, and I went over there as a team leader. But that was really, really aggressive, and it was a really challenging and difficult place to work, and progression was really difficult. It just seemed to be a real culture of jobs for the boys. So, my natural progression from team leader would to be going into the area manager or regional manager role, but I just found that very much a closed door. But I definitely, I found that, working on doors, canvassing was a good sales opportunity and a good career opportunity for us. And it was at that point I moved into utilities. So I worked with Eon, for a couple of years. And I also worked with Scottish Power as well. And again, that was just on the doors, selling gas and electric packages. That I probably got into that at the tail end of it at the wrong time. I think back in the day that was really lucrative, and it was a good career path. But I think by the time I'd got into it, I think probably customers had really cottoned onto it. There was just so many providers going around, chapping doors, and I think again the big part of that was on demographics. The companies didn't want you to get into low demographic areas selling to customers with smart meters, and they wanted you to get into sort of kind of mid to high dem areas and sign direct debit customers up. But that was really difficult, right? Because if you get into like a £500,000 house in a real high demographic area, they just don't buy off a doorstep, right? It's just simple as they want to do their homework. They want to check competitive activity. They want to check rates. They want to check their carbon footprint, in terms of green energy, etc. So get into these sort of kind of areas, and I think at the time Scottish Power they got quite insistent that actually you had to get into these areas where actually your sales manager would start giving you your doors to go and chat, he'd give you your patch, and you were just getting put into these really high demographic areas, and the opportunities just became less.
Was the opportunities less, but was the pressure still there?
Absolutely, yeah. Probably more pressure because you weren't making the same level of sales that you were used to, because you used to be able to kind of balance it. You would go into a low demographic area and you'd maybe sign up prepaid meters, and you could balance it up, and you still had to go and get some direct debit customers. So, but you could balance it. So you could. Whereas it got to a point where it only wanted direct debit customers.
Where did that lead you to move to then after that?
Do you know something? So this is probably when I used to work at the company called Homebuy. When we got made redundant, a couple of my colleagues and mates, I suppose, they had all moved over to Sky as area managers. So I'd be speaking to my mates and I'd be telling them about how much a challenge I was finding the job that I was doing, and the role was changing. It wasn't the same type of job as what it used to be, and probably earning potential was getting a bit difficult, and they were always like really shouting and screaming about how great Sky was and the job. They were really enjoying it, really engaged, and they had just found an amazing company to work for. So I just got a random call one day, and my mate had said there's an area manager's role going at Sky, And if I wanted, they would put me in touch with the regional manager and take it from there. So yeah, I got in touch with the regional manager, and I expressed a real interest to say that I'd like to have the opportunity to be able to apply for that particular role. So I went and I got my interview, and this is the funny thing, right? Because I went for my interview and I absolutely bombed it, like ridiculously bombed it. It was I just didn't do very well at all, and I knew I never done very well. And I never really, to be fair, if I was 16, going through those different jobs I had, I never really had a lot of experience about sitting in competency-based interviews. And probably the one at Sky was for the manager's role was probably the first really intense competency-based interview I had. So I bombed it and I failed it, and I got a regret letter to say that I wasn't successful. And and then just about 2 weeks later, I got a call from Alison, the regional manager, and she said she wanted to speak to me. Would that be okay? I went and met her, and she said, look, hearing loads of great things, hearing about what you've achieved in other businesses, and there's another opportunity came up, and really interested in if you want to apply for that role. So yeah, I applied for that role, and I'd learned. I knew exactly what to do the next time around to be successful. I absolutely learned from my previous experience in that first interview. So yeah, I went along, and I turned up on the day, and I was successful, and I got that role. So essentially, my career at Sky started in retail. So I was a retail area manager, which was predominantly looking after the west coast of Scotland, and I was looking after the retail stores that sat within all the shopping centres. So yeah, I mean, in retail, I had a fantastic career in retail, and loads of different opportunities. Opportunities to move into different roles, lots of secondment opportunities as well.
So when you're looking back at your career, Roddy, you're all listening to you now. There always seems to be that element of you looking for opportunities, progression, and like just a general hunger to keep moving. Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think you get that trait from?
I think I've always believed in setting goals. Right, I've always had aspirations, and I've always got into a way where I set a goal and I just didn't stop till I got there. Right, I think I've always known what I wanted to get out of life and what I wanted to achieve. So I've always been probably quite resilient in terms of my career, and I think probably somebody once said, "What's your superpower?" And I've said, "Look, resilience." Because I was always able to pick myself up and learn from going through sort of kind of tough times, or going through any times where you've been rejected for particular roles. So I've always been really resilient. I've always really set myself goals in terms of where I want to be in my career. And, I've always stayed true to those goals. I've always stayed optimistic.
Do you think, looking back, maybe like your pre-career life, maybe, when you were a young child or teenager sort of thing, that your parents had any influence on your work ethic?
I think, you probably asked me earlier on there about, motivation with money and what have you. And money it's not my sole motivation, but I came from probably quite a tough background. My mother, brought up single mother. So, she was never always done her best for me, but not able to provide the kind of things that I probably wanted, or, wanted out of life. So I've just, probably learned, and I seen my mother going through really, really tough times, but, she was just, she was a tough woman. And she gave me the best life possible, that she could provide for me. I just always wanted a bit more. But I wanted a bit more than that. So I've always been really motivated and really disciplined in terms of what I wanted to get out of life and what I wanted to get out of career. And that just goes further upstream when you start having your own family. I've always wanted to be the best provider for my family.
And speaking of family, what does that look like for you, Roddy?
Family. So I've got 2 daughters. I've got a stepdaughter, and I've got 5 grandkids as well. So, but yeah,
Wow.
daughters-wise, they're all up and got their own families. So me and Mary Jane kind of get to live the life now without having to worry about kids. We've got grandkids, but the beauty of having the grandkids is you can give them back.
Yeah. Yeah, you get all the best bits with grandkids, I would imagine. Do you find yourself ever pushing your traits and your attributes towards career and stuff onto your children?
Yeah, definitely do. I think I've always been able to give good counsel to my kids in terms of, how you show up, what your beliefs should be, and how you act with integrity, and working how you've got to really sort of work hard and really apply yourself to be able to get anywhere. And I think I've always talked a lot about attitude as well, about what kind of attitude that they should have to even just to life or to how they come to work. I talked to them about being really open and honest, and just be accountable and act with integrity. So I think I probably, that's always probably been quite front of mind in terms of trying to sort of kind of enthuse your kids. And even now, my granddaughters who are 20 and 17, you want to try and give them a bit of counsel and a bit of advice. But yeah, I definitely, that's really important to me.
Do you feel like you succeeded with that?
Yeah, I drew up. Both my daughters have came out into pretty decent careers. Stepdaughter's doing absolutely amazing at university. So yeah, I couldn't be any prouder in the way things have turned out in terms of the paths that they've took, the lifestyle that they all live. I don't have any concerns or any worries. It's a really nice place to be in.
And it's good listening to that, because I think it's an important aspect of obviously raising children is continuing those traits that we've probably got from our parents onto them, because we live in an age now of, I would say, entitlement. A lot of people think things can land on the lap when it's ultimately down to hard work. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, totally. And I think probably my kids have seen that probably in me in terms of, I probably gave them a bit of inspiration in terms of how they've seen my career develop, and the hard work and the energy and, everything, how I've applied myself. So I think that's definitely been demonstrated, and they've seen that, and they've probably drawn a bit of inspiration through that as well. I've always looked for that growth, but I've always been mindful about the conversations that I've had with my kids or my family, because I've always wanted to be that inspiration to them.
Going back just briefly, how long have you been at Sky now? You started at Sky as an area manager. You're still at Sky now?
Yeah, I'm still at Sky now. Yeah, I've had, I've been at Sky for 15 years, and I've been really fortunate. I've had many, great opportunities at Sky. So, I probably spent 9 years, I think, in the sales and the retail side of Sky, where I had many opportunities. So in terms of some of the roles I had, I was area manager. I then moved into, got the opportunity to be a regional operations manager. So I looked after operations for Scotland and Northern Ireland. I then moved back into sales, and I had the opportunity to go into secondment, and that was to look after the door knocking side of Sky, which was, they were called the Walkers team. But yeah, I moved into regional as a regional sales manager, and I looked after, again, Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then at that point, Sky had shut down that route to market and Walkers. And because I was on secondment, I was able to go back to my previous role. But I think that's probably one of the interesting parts of my career at Sky, and how I was able to go looking for other opportunities. Because I remember working in the region that I worked in, and whilst I had a great relationship with my leadership team and my manager, and it's almost like I wasn't getting the opportunity, because at that time I had goals and I wanted to be a manager of managers, which meant, being a regional manager or, So that path for me, I think, was always being blocked because I worked in Scotland, and I looked at Scotland and Northern Ireland was our region in North East England. So at that point, my manager wasn't going to go anywhere, and there was a bit of sponsorship, and for another teammate as such. But because I had this real goal, I think I learned that actually I'm going to need to go look for opportunities, and I might have to make sacrifices to be able to find those opportunities. So I used to take on every secondment opportunity available, and most of those opportunities became I think I moved to Manchester. I lived in Manchester for 3 months looking after the Manchester team, or Greater Manchester team. I then had the opportunity to move to Leeds, and again I moved to Leeds. I lived there for 3 months, and I looked after that wider sort of kind of Leeds team. And I also moved into the Northwest England. I looked after that team, and then I think I spent about 4 months down in the Midlands looking after that team. But all that sacrifice, and my family being able to adapt to me working away from home and what have you, I was able to go away and influence and make changes and have an impact. I almost became like the change manager, where I was asked to go and look after areas that maybe we are performing, or culturally they weren't in the right place, in terms of the way we work at Sky. So I had great opportunities, and listen, the opportunities was to take these teams up, change the culture, and get them change it into a high performing culture. And I had great opportunities, and I got amazing recognition from it. But I think in the background, I was able to build my brand as well, and people started to take note about with the ability that I had to be able to turn around sort of failing teams into high performing teams, but more around the culture, because I'm probably more in sales. I learned really quickly, because I think in sales we all go after a number, right? It's all about performance, and it's about the number. And it was really, really simple for me, because, I found that if I had the, pillars that I worked to, and things, pillars that I absolutely believed in, and a work ethic that I believed in. So for me, it was all about, people. You look after your people, you support your people. And if you do that, then they're going to look after your customer. And then if you're looking after your customer, then you're going to perform. So for me, it was a case of reversing the whole psychology about going after performance, the customer, and then your people. By reversing that and looking after my people, they would look after my customers. And if they're looking after our customers, then naturally we're going to perform. And then culturally, we're in a good place with really good people stats as well. So I think that's probably where I got recognised in Sky. We're going away and doing these different opportunities. And then I was able to progress on to different roles from there. I think off the back, a lot of these secondments and going back into my home region, I then did get the opportunity, and I got the opportunity to step up, and I was able to move into secondment for the head of field. So I looked after head of field for retail, and that was games for Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North East England. So it was a big patch. I was looking after a lot of stores, and I think I had about 12 area managers under me. So that was a real great area of development for me, to sort of kind of move up to that level, to a head of field role. And I learned probably a lot more about, strategic thinking, and, delivering, on culture, and, more around sort of kind of, building, clear people plans and delivering on those plans. So moving into that sort of kind of role, I learned a lot more. I learned a lot more about project management and that type of stuff. So it was a great opportunity for us, and actually, I was able to do that for 12 months. And I probably learned a lot more about leadership as well.
And looking at your career now and your career past, where do you see a balance, or do you feel like there needs to be more of a balance between your career and life, non-work life, should I say?
Do you know something? People often ask me this, because I, in my current role, I cover I cover quite a region. I cover from Cumbria down to Lancaster, Lancashire, down to Preston, and then right over to Bradford. So I cover quite a big patch, and I live in Scotland, so that incorporates a lot of travel. But I think I've got an amazing work-life balance. I've got things in life that I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about my family. But I love going to football. I go to all home and away games, and I really enjoy playing golf. However, I work away from home, maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. But I think I've got an amazing work-life balance, because I'm able to balance things around the things in life that I'm really passionate about, and I'm able to plan and prioritise my workload and, where do I need to be, who do I need to go and see. So I never ever feel impacted. And I always sort of kind of said to myself that actually, if I'm working away from home and I'm not getting to do the things that I want to do, the things I'm passionate about in my personal life, then that's what's going to impact me. So I think I've found just through experience, I've found a really good way of planning my work, prioritising my work, and I get to spend amazing time down south and spending time with my people. But it doesn't impact my home life. And I know sometimes I've got to put hours in. I know sometimes I'm doing a lot of travelling, but I've always just said that's just a job and that's just the way it is. And I would never ever complain about work-life balance. I think I've got a great balance, and I've got an amazing manager that I can plan my week, and if I need to work at home for a week, then I work at work so I can balance my time.
Yeah, and my next question was going to be, let's imagine it's 5:30 on a Friday. What does Roddy do to switch off on a weekend? But you kind of answered some of it there with your football and your golf. But how do you turn yourself off from work?
Do you know something? I've got, people often probably laugh at the kind of lifestyle that I have got. So I'm very good at the work-life balance. I'm very good at, being able to switch off, and I do switch off. I sit in, at home. If I'm working at home, I've got an upstairs kind of office. My laptop never comes downstairs with me. My work phone, I'm good at switching off. So, once, Friday night, I'll switch off and I'll spend time with the family, on a Friday evening. But normally on a Saturday, I'm at the football. And if I'm not at the football, I'll be at the golf. And a Sunday, it's the opposite. It's football or golf. So, I've got an amazing social life as well. I've got lots of friends, and, we tend to go out, out for meals, and we spend a lot of time together. So, yeah, I've got a really good social life, and I like going to gigs and concerts, and I'm always on the go, so to speak. And I've started doing cold water swimming therapy as well. So just like this crazy thing that I'm doing just now. But yeah, every Saturday morning, about 8 o'clock, I'm going out to the lake and spending about 10, 20 minutes in the cold water.
Wow. You know what, Roddy? I struggle when I have a shower in the morning, and when you turn it off, and them last few drops are freezing. It's like, I've got to get out of that. So I take my hat off to you jumping into a lake swimming.
Do you know something, Nick? I couldn't. So she likes a cold shower. I probably couldn't go into the cold shower, because I'm like, it's too cold in here. But doing the cold water and into the lake, it's all about so it'll probably take me 5 minutes to get in. I'll go into my, and it's all about my breathing as well. So I can take my time. I'll go in and, get to my knees. I'll get to my waist. Then I'll get to above my sort of kind of chest. And then I'm away, I'm in. But it'll probably take me a process of 5 minutes to get in the water. But once I'm in, I'll probably spend about 10 minutes. My daughters are doing it with me as well, which is really cool. And that's, funny enough, it's probably at this present time, it's that's the time of the week that I get to see my two daughters sitting in a lake, absolutely freezing.
In a freezing lake.
yeah, but it's really cool.
Well, they do say there's a lot of benefits to it, like for your mental health and stuff like that as well, don't they?
I found a massive difference. I've got some health issues, but that, completely managed. But I just, it's really, really good for, stress and anxiety. It's, even for weight loss as well, because you burn so much fat, because your body's, and your blood cells are fighting so hard to keep you warm when you're in the water. So, weight loss, and it's superb for your metabolism. So, you know what? It just really, I really enjoy it. I get a lot from it, and I do see the benefits from it as well.
So I'm going to move on, Raudy, to the final question. And it is, if you could give any advice to any of your former employers, what would it be?
I think it's absolutely, you've got to listen to your people. Sky are very good at listening to people, and cultures and decisions are made around, the feedback they get from people. I think, definitely from previous employers, my previous experiences is listen to your people more and build your plan around what your people are telling you, build your culture around what your people are telling you.
Yeah, listening to your people is the main theme that I'm getting on these podcasts. So there must be some truth in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if it's a common theme coming through.
Listen, Raudy, it's been well, certainly an eye opener listening to your career story and how you've got to where you've got to in this current day. And I do appreciate your time, and thank you very much for sharing your history with us.
Awesome, thank you. It's been a great opportunity. I really appreciate it. You taking the time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raudy. And we'll speak soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Have a good one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that follow button and join me next time for more chats on Nick Needs to Know.